Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of Friday, March 3rd. Before we get started, I just want to let everybody know I made a post about this earlier in the week, but we've had the doors open here for a year. I guess this would be my 53rd fishing report. So just want to thank all the great customers, loyal customers that have been coming in, helping us keep the doors open, all the great people that helped us along the way. There, of course, there's some bumps with any kind of transition like this. So too many people to thank that way, but and also want to thank all of you for tuning in and continuing to tune in and helping us keep the doors open here. So thanks for that, and here's to another year. Otherwise, some other stuff we got going on around the area. The DNR is reminding us that permanent shacks need to be off the ice here by March 5th, south of Highway 64, which would be Madison. Personally, I believe if you've got a permanent out there, still you're pushing your luck. The ice is going pretty fast, but you got to have them off by Sunday. So just want to let everybody remind that. And Sunday is also the closing of the game fish season. So if you're looking to get out and get after some pike or walleye, this is your last weekend to do it. Make sure you stop in the shop here. We got plenty of shiners and live bait to get after those fish. But after Sunday, that'll be it. Some other things to go over here quick. Southern Wisconsin Trout Unlimited. I sit on the board for that group. Great group. Does great stuff for trout fishing and habitat and around the area. Has their second annual spring fundraiser coming up. It's April 22nd, which is a little bit of a ways away, but I mention it because you can buy tickets now, and they have on their website, swtu.org, a description of the event. And you can click to buy tickets. And if you get in early with the early bird pricing, you can get really great deals on bucket raffle tickets that are included in your package. So get on that if you want to help a great cause. And it's at the East Side Club here, off Monona Drive there by Olbert Park. Should be a great event. Otherwise, some shop news, some flyers around the shop. Got some friends over to City Parks that wanted me to promote a job fair working for City Parks over at the Warner Park Rec Center on March 10th, which would be next Friday from 4 to 7. If you got, say, a teenager that's looking for some summer work, or maybe you're looking for work yourself, they're hiring people on the spot. Stop in there if you're looking to, working for the cities, great benefits and great folks over there, and get to be outside and make your neighborhood look better. Stoughton garage sale is this weekend, so that's Sunday the 5th from 8 to 12:30. They got a breakfast there, and it's a bunch of folks that rent tables and sell some of their used gear. So a great opportunity to get some good deals on some good gear. Otherwise, around the shop, we got some ice fishing stuff we've been putting up on sale. I have sold out all my tip-ups. Still have augers to get out the door, so stop on in. Got some great deals on augers over here. So anyway, I guess we'll get to the report. This week we had a warm week. Got a whole bunch of rain, about 1.5 inches fell here in the Madison area on between Monday and Tuesday. The ice locally took a pretty big hit with many shoreline areas losing ice. Temps in the high 40s forecast for the weekend, and then rain and 50 degrees on Monday. I'm not really sure how much longer the ice is going to hold on, but the main ice around the chain is still in decent shape. The problem is the shorelines are in rough shape, so getting out to that ice can be a challenge. But there are plenty of places with decent access still. Just make sure you're careful around shoreline areas, storm sewer outfalls, and areas near current. Otherwise, mostly gills being caught shallow with some crappies starting to move into those areas. Look for green weeds and you'll likely find fish. Some decent tip-up action for pike and largemouth bass in shallow areas around the chain. Still hearing about some decent walleye pike in those same shallow areas adjacent to deeper water and on mid-lake humps. Monona, Wabisa, and Kegonsa lake basin perch action remains spotty. But the perch action on Mendota has been good, but the fish seem to be a little more spread out, but we'll touch on that in just a sec here. Up here on the north side, up on Cherokee, we've got, I can't zoom there. So like I said, the ice in many spots, that's going to be the theme of this report. In many areas took a hit. Cherokee's no different. A lot of the shoreline up here is in really rough shape. There are a few access points though. Down by the canoes down here was looking good. I was up there Wednesday. The ice was, we had 6-7 inches of ice with 2 inches of slushy, soft ice on top. Gills weren't happening for me personally, but I know they have been getting gills on and off out there. And we had some good tip-up action as usual. Lots of decent pike or, I mean, smaller pike, 20 to 30 inch pike coming out of there. The water over here in the channel is open, as is the water on both sides of the island up here. So you're going to want to use caution in those areas. But the ice on the main Cherokee Marsh area itself remains pretty good. Over to the 113 bridge is open now. The ice is melted off there. I've heard of a few folks fishing down there. Haven't heard how they've done, but that should be filling up with crappies, walleyes, catfish over the next couple weeks here. So some good fishing to be had down there to be sure. Out on Mendota, same issue. Shorelines took a beating, but if you can get out, that's where once you're on the ice, you should be in pretty good shape. I do want to mention that Mendota County Park sounds like the launch over there is completely unusable, even for foot traffic now. It's pretty beat up over there. A lot of other areas, Hatch Cover, Marshall Park. I haven't heard about Spring Harbor, but a lot of those areas have all took pretty good beatings over this warm weather, and we're looking at not great access for ATVs. But haven't heard anything about panfish action on the main lake. Shallow, bluegills or crappies, usually they're starting to move into University Bay. Haven't heard anything down there myself. Walleyes remain good on mid-lake humps. You got Second Point, Commodore, Brearley, Dunn's Bar, Governor's Island, anywhere that's adjacent to deep water, Picnic Point. These are going to be spots where you're going to find walleyes, particularly in the evening. The perch bite, like I mentioned earlier, it still remains decent out here in the West Basin. They have been finding some fish out from Governor's, and then on the the east side of the main basin, kind of over this way. So there's perch out there, and folks were running ATVs as of yesterday. So we'll see how the ice holds up. I haven't heard anything today, but just be careful out there. Speaking of being careful, Lake Monona is pretty much sketchy ice everywhere. I'm not sure I'd recommend going out there at all anymore. Folks have been staying off that most of this week. It looked pretty dark from John Nolan Drive the other day, and with all the open water areas we had, I'd probably just stay off. Monona Bay down here, I heard had nobody on it yesterday, which isn't a good sign for the ice. I don't know how much is down there, but I heard there's 6-7 inches on the triangles, but that's getting pretty soft over there too. But there were folks on the triangles yesterday, and I'm sure they're getting fish. Just access is getting soft this time of year. Lake Wingra, I've heard there's 6-7 inches out there. Finding tiny gills in the weeds, some perch on the weed line, and the tip up action I've heard has been decent down there. Over to over to Upper Mud. In the dredge hole, I haven't heard if anybody's walking out from there just yet or anymore, because of all that mud and rain we got. I'm sure it's a muddy mess through the marsh, but folks are we're getting fish out there in the dredge hole, but I can't imagine access out to that is great anymore. Up to Lake Farm Park, I heard foot travel is still good, and some folks are still launching ATVs out of there. I would be careful on this north end, though, especially with the current that comes through there. Bluegill and panfish bites been tough up to Lake Farm, but they have been getting some pike on the north end. Hog Island, Babcock, and Bible Camp remain good areas where they're finding some walleyes. Haven't heard anything about the bluegill bite in the South Bay. Usually that turns on this time of year, but I haven't personally heard anything. Perch out in the main lake basin have been spotty, but folks are getting fish. Just got to move around, and actually some decent fish I've been hearing coming out of there, but it's just been mostly a tight-lipped thing. A lot of lookers, few takers, but folks are getting fish. Down in Kegonsa, less so, I would say. On the perch side of things, folks mark a lot of fish, but they come and look and then zip away. It's been kind of a lot of the reports I've been hearing out of there. Over to Kegonsa, out from the point here, they've been getting some walleyes out there. Gills and some pike coming out of the weeds, more on the southeast end of the lake, but that action is also pretty spotty, as is pretty typical for Kegonsa. Down to the Rock River, Lake Koshkonong, the ice is not, I would not recommend going out there. I haven't seen it personally, but I gotta imagine it's pretty sketchy, because it was sketchy last week, and now we had all that rain and warm, and it's a river, so yeah, I'd stay away pretty much. I have heard about some fish down to Indian Ford, some pike and a couple walleye coming out of there. And like I said, the lake up here is sketchy. You might be able to launch a boat at Black Hawk Island and get down into the lake there, where there's some open water at the mouth of the river. But the river sounds like it's pretty much wide open. I know the launches at Fort Atkinson and Jefferson are open. I have heard about folks getting some fish up to the Jefferson Dam, but that action has been pretty light so far. But the fish should be moving in there pretty soon. Beaver Dam Lake, I've heard about some fish or some folks getting some decent walleyes out there. Hard to come across keepers with an 18-inch size limit out there, and all the pressure they get. North end of the lake sounds like the ice is pretty sketchy up there, but I believe folks are still getting on down on the south end. Over here to Devil's Lake, I heard last weekend, I heard there was 10 inches ice out there, which I'm sure is less now, but still should be decent for fishing and get some trout action in before the season closes here. I have heard about some folks getting some fish on the south end of the lake down there. Over to the Mississippi, I've heard that folks are having trouble in DeSoto and Genoa getting on there. The ice is sketchy, but I have heard some folks heading up to Onalaska, La Crosse area and getting some perch up there where there's a little safer ice. I forgot about the river. Over on the Wisconsin River, Prairie du Sac Dam's been slow from what I hear, but folks are launching over there and able to get boats in. Lake Wisconsin ice is very sketchy. I would stay off that. Haven't heard much action out of like Wayland's Grade or the Fingers anyway for a while, so I might just stay away from Lake Wisconsin. Wisconsin Dells Dam, I've been hearing about fish up there. And then Castle Rock Dam, Petenwell Dams, same deal. Folks are able to launch boats there and are getting fish below those dams. On the lakes of Castle Rock and Petenwell, Castle Rock's been producing some walleyes and white bass after a really slow winter out there. Same thing on Petenwell. Walleyes, shallow areas near breaks, and some panfish up shallow near structure. But I have heard about some sketchy ice on the north end of Petenwell there too. Down in Milwaukee, the rain we got, I think I heard they got 2 inches of rain over to Milwaukee, so all the trips were blown out all week, but they might be down enough to fish now. The harbors, I'm sure, are probably open water by now, but there wasn't a lot of ice down there to begin with. I haven't heard anything specifically, and nothing on social media, so I imagine things are pretty quiet down there. But the steelhead run should be happening here pretty quick. Look to late March, early April for those fish to start moving in. Same deal all the way up the coast with any of the tribs up there. Green Bay fishing out there is non-existent as far as I hear. But I have been hearing about a lot of folks up here to Pier, getting in at the dam over there. It's kind of a zoo because it's kind of rare that there's actually open water where, usually this time of year there'd still be ice and you couldn't launch a boat. So folks are still taking advantage of the ability to take 5 walleye out of there at 15 inches before they bump the size limit up to that slot they do to protect those fish during the spring coming up after this weekend. Otherwise, I guess that's it for lake fishing. As far as trout fishing goes around the area, streams are all blown out all this week. They should be fishable by this weekend, I would think. And folks are doing well with woolly buggers, small nymphs fished in deep holes, slowly through deep holes. Of course, this is the catch and release season, so no live bait can be used, and all fish need to be immediately released. But they are getting fish, like I said, in deep holes. Hard to ignore the magic of a pink squirrel. This time of year, it's a great winter fly. If you're on the spin fishing side of things, a Rapala countdown or a tube jig run through some of those same deep, slow holes while the water is still chilly can be very effective this time of year. So. And I have been hearing about some folks seeing some action on dry flies, so it's always a good idea to keep some smaller, darker fly patterns in your box this time of year in the event that you come across a brief hatch. I guess that's it for the report. If you have any questions, feel free to call the shop here at 241-4225, and we can kind of maybe expand on some of the stuff we talked about here. Otherwise, again, I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you sticking with us through this last year, and here's to many more. And post your comments and catches below. We love to see that stuff. But thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Good luck out there.